You are training the AI to do your job. Literally like being forced to dig your own grave and then lie down in it while Google fills in the soil above you. They're asking you as a PhD, as an expert in your particular level, to help train their AI by giving it feedback. As soon as the AI gets good enough, you are no longer needed. Good morning, everybody. This is AI with Kyle. I'm going to be walking through the daily news and updates from the world of artificial intelligence. It's been a quiet few days. Actually, the whole of last week was relatively quiet in terms of AI news. Now I think we know why. We have a bunch coming down the pipeline today. We have a new model from ChatGPT called GPT-5 Codex. We have a potential new Claude model, maybe dropping today or tomorrow as well. Yep, it should be activating quite shortly. And we have news that Google has just crossed 3 trillion in market capitalization, making it one of only 4 companies, I believe, in history to have done this. So we'll have a look at that as well. So a lot is suddenly going on. Let's cover the ChatGPT news first, then we'll have a look at Claude, and then we'll have a look at Google. It's a very busy day, which it's always feast and famine in the world of artificial intelligence. So let's hop on over to GPT-5 Codex first of all. GPT-5 Codex dropped yesterday. It is a specific version of GPT-5, which is built for agentic coding. Now, agentic coding is an artificial intelligence that is very good at planning out and strategizing how it can do a task. So generally when we're using AI for coding, or we're using it for anything in daily life, we generally tell it what to do and it will happily go off and do that, even if that's not necessarily the best way to do it. And when it comes to coding in particular, this can be a problem if you are doing something like vibe coding and frankly, you don't know what you're doing. An agentic coding AI is going to be much better at planning and strategizing, breaking down a task, and then going off and completing that task in a much more structured manner. So it is exciting if this works. So Codex has been available previously, but they are now rolling it out more generally and bringing it into other areas. So GPT-5 Codex is here, a version of GPT-5 better at agentic coding. It is fast, smarter, and has new capabilities. Obviously, they always say this about all their new models, so we need to try it. Let us know what you think. There we go. Fair enough. The team has been absolutely cooking. Very fun to watch. I do love that Kidsey here is Kidsey. He talks about vibe coding, talks about coding, and he's about to hop onto stage to give a talk about vibe coding tomorrow morning, and this landed just before. So, quick rewrite time by the looks of it. So let's have a look at what we have. We're releasing GPT-5 Codex, a version of GPT-5 further optimized for agentic coding in Codex. It is now available in the Codex CLI, the IDE extension, web, mobile, and for code reviews in GitHub. So they're now much more broadly bringing it. So it looks like they've used their previous launches inside Codex CLI. I'm never sure how you actually say it. CLI? Never say it out loud. They're using their experience from the last couple of month or so, and now bringing that to a wider market and allowing us to access this new version of the model that is built on those experiences. So let's have a look at the actual blog article and see what they're saying about it. So Codex just got faster, more reliable, and better at real-time collaboration and tackling tasks independently anywhere you develop. So whether it's via the terminal, IDE, web, or even your phone. So that's the exciting part. It's about the wider rollout because we have a dedicated agentic coding model. So today we're releasing GPT-5 Codex, a version of GPT-5, not necessarily a new model, but a version of GPT-5 further optimized for agentic coding in Codex. There's a lot of cuz there. GPT-5 Codex was trained with a focus on real-world software engineering work. It's equally proficient at quick interactive sessions and independently powering through long, complex tasks. Interesting, okay? Now, this is connected to a video I just saw by Nate B. Jones, who you should be following, the greybeard of artificial intelligence. He's on TikTok and various channels. Really smart guy. Make sure you're following him if you're not. Nate B. Jones. He just did a video about why this is important. And there's actually where is it? Here we go. GPT-5 Codex adapts how much time it spends thinking more dynamically based on the complexity of the task. Okay, this is important. The model combines 2 essential skills for a coding agent, pairing with developers in interactive sessions and persistent independent execution on longer tasks. So this means that Codex will feel snappier on small, well-defined requests or while you are chatting with it, and will work for longer on complex tasks like big refactors, so large pieces of work. Very cool. So What Nate B. Jones was talking about in his video, and this is where he's getting it from by the looks of it, is the ability for the model to match its effort to the task at hand. So generally, when you are using an AI model for coding or for anything else, it will spend roughly the same amount of time putting out an output, and generally that output will be relatively similar. So I was doing something with Claude yesterday. I was putting together a curriculum for an atomic learning artificial intelligence course where I go through all of the concepts of AI in short 2 to 3 minute long videos to help people learn very quickly. And I was having a discussion back and forward with Claude. Every time I would ask it a question or give it some kind of information, it would give me the same length answer. And because I was using Opus, it would go on and on. Even when I was asking a quick question like, hey, do you think we should maybe change the lesson order of these 2 lessons? It wouldn't just say, yep, cool, good idea, and flip those lessons. It would go on and it would tell me about why that was a great idea and how we could also do this and that. And it wouldn't be sensitive to the level of the request that I'd given it. And this is a problem across AIs. They will give you the same amount of effort pretty much regardless of what you ask. So if it's a quick task, they'll still give you a certain level of effort. If it's a longer task, they'll give you that level of effort. What it looks like with this new codex, and this is for coding and agentic coding specifically for now, is it looks like it's going to spend more time dynamically working out how much time and effort it should spend on a task. So if you say, can change some wording on this landing page, it will just do that. And it won't give you a whole essay about what it's done. If you say, okay, we actually need to we need to migrate this whole piece of software into a different framework because this isn't working, it will go on into a much longer, more thoughtful task, and it might go away and do the thinking. It will, as an agent, go away and do the task over time. And it will flex depending on how much effort needs to be put in. Now, this is exciting, obviously, for GPT-5 Codex, but if they can crack it here, potentially that same technology and that same sensitivity to the size of the task, that can come to our other models. So something like GPT-5, when we use it on a daily basis, it would be able to answer using a short answer or a long answer, depending on what is relevant for the particular prompt that we've put in. So that's really exciting, even if you do not code. If you do code, then this whole thing is exciting, and I'll be playing around with this later today. It only released yesterday, so I have not tried it yet, but I will give it a go later today and give some feedback on it tomorrow. And also, if anyone's used it, please tell me in chat. I'd love to hear your first impressions. Good morning, everybody on TikTok. Thank you for all of the likes. I'm just scrolling through to see if there's any questions. There generally are not at the beginning, and that is absolutely fine. Thank you anyway. Oh, that's strong. Next thing up is Claude. So I've just realized it's actually the 16th, so I don't think anything happened. So that takes the wind out of the sails of this one a little bit. But we had some rumblings of a new feature, something new from Anthropic, which had a feature gate under the name KonMari with a date check that activates on September the 15th, 2025, which is yesterday. And after including the KonMari welcome banner, renaming the Anthropic console to Claude console and more. So let's see if they've actually, let's put in KonMari. So KonMari, I looked this up, is Marie Kondo's, it doesn't look like we're getting anything. Marie Kondo, she is a Japanese woman who helps people to tidy up, which is something I need for my bookshelves. But she has a tidying up system, and her tidying up system is called KonMari. So there was some kind of speculation that this could be a new Anthropic model, potentially 4.5. To me, though, with that name, KonMari, that suggests it's a tidy up, and they are doing some tidy up on the UI, on the UX, the user interface and user experience, including renaming Anthropic console to Claude console and more. I don't know if they've actually gone ahead and done that. So nothing seems to have come of this quite yet. I didn't realize that this was the date, and it actually happened yesterday. I don't think there is any news here yet, but I, like a lot of people, are excited about a new Claude model. Claude is my main model that I use daily, especially Opus. So I use, is it Opus 4.1? Let me check it out. So we've got Opus 4.1 and Claude Sonnet 4. Yep. So 4.1 is my kind of daily model. That is only possible because I'm on the max plan. If you're not on the max plan, then using Opus is basically impossible. I used to be on the Plus or the Pro plan, whatever it is, the $20 a month, and you use 1 or 2 Opus chats, and then it's, nope, that's it. That's enough for the day. But now I have the max plan. I can use it pretty much infinitely. But it is not cheap. Okay. It doesn't look like there's any news from Anthropic yet. If there is later, that'll be exciting, and I'll keep an eye out for it. So there's a new paper. This isn't really news, but I think it's very cool. It's a new paper from ChatGPT called, it's a very exciting title, How People Use ChatGPT. It came out yesterday, and it's by a bunch of people at OpenAI, Duke University, and Harvard University. Some of them are at both places, and it is a paper about the actual usage patterns, so we can see how people in general are using ChatGPT, which is really cool. So despite the rapid adoption of LLM chatbots, I'm going to blow that up, little is known about how they are actually used. We document the growth of ChatGPT's consumer product from its launch in November 2022 through July 2025, when it had been adopted by around 10% of the world's adult population. Whew. Early adopters were disproportionately male, yes, but the gender gap has narrowed dramatically. Good. And we find higher growth rates in lower income countries. Makes sense because higher income countries picked it up first, and then it's been spreading from there. Using a privacy-preserving automated pipeline, we classify usage patterns within a representative sample of GPT conversations. We find steady growth in work-related messages, but even faster growth in non-work-related messages, which have grown from 53% to more than 70% of all usage. Wow. Okay, so 70% of ChatGPT usage is now personal, not professional. That's really interesting. That's a bit worrying for Google too, because Google is how we used to find information and how we used to navigate the internet. That 70% of usage of ChatGPT and the growth to 10% of the world's population means concerning things for ChatGPT. Sorry, for Google. I'm actually going to talk about Google in a minute though, so I'll leave that for now. Work usage is more common for educated users and highly paid professional occupations. Makes sense, I guess. We classify messages by conversation topic and find that practical guidance, seeking information, and writing are the most common topics that collectively account for nearly 80% of conversation. Writing dominates work-related tasks, fair enough, highlighting chatbot's unique ability to generate digital outputs compared to traditional search engines. They are large language models, so their ability to write is what they're made for. Initially at least. Computer programming and self-expression both represent relatively small shares of use. Overall, we find that ChatGPT provides economic value through decision support, awesome, which is especially important in knowledge-intensive jobs. So go ahead and you can read the paper yourself. It is How People Use ChatGPT. It's 63 pages. I'm not going to run it through it all now. What I have done though, because I'm efficient, lazy, both, is run it through ChatGPT to ask, hey, what are the big headline numbers? What are the big findings of this paper? So a couple of things here. Scale of adoption. By July 2025, GPT had 700 million weekly active users, which is about 7% of the world's population. So that 700 million number we've always used as a rule of thumb, and that looks like it's been confirmed by this study. And users are sending 2.6 billion daily messages, so around 30,000 messages per second. So this would be really useful for people who are trying to work out the climate impact of ChatGPT and other AIs, because now they have a solid figure, which is really useful for that kind of work. So work versus non-work. So back early on in mid-2024, which seems like an age ago, it was 53% non-work, 47% work, so roughly equal. By mid-2025, so a couple of months ago, it was 73% non-work and 27% work. So it switched from 50-50, half, to 75%, 25%, basically. So people are realizing that they can use it more extensively in every area of their life. And this kind of aligns with what I say when people say, how do I start using AI? I just say, just download ChatGPT and start playing around with it and see what you can use it for in your daily life. And I think people are coming to this realization that you can basically use it to help with anything. And it is a general purpose technology that can be applied all the way across your life. So both grew. So adoption is up, but non-work has grown much, much faster. So practical use cases, 29% are using it for tutoring, how-to advice, and creative ideation. That's awesome. Seeking information is actually lower, is only 25%. So using it as a Google replacement is lower than practical guidance. So that's good to see, because using it just as a Google replacement is it's not a very exciting use of AI. It's one of the first uses that people start with, but then they realize, oh, actually, I can use this. I can have a discussion with this. I can not just retrieve information, but query that information and work with the AI to better deepen my understanding. So more and more people are doing that, which is cool. 25% are using it for writing, so emails, documents, and editing. That is not particularly surprising. And those are the three big ones. So practical guidance, seeking information, and writing. And coding is relatively small. It's only 4.2%. So the big thing, I think the really cool one, is that closing, where is it, of the gender gap. So the demographics here. So early users were 80% male, and now usage is near parity or slightly female leaning. So it's about 50-50, but with a slight skew towards females using it more than men, which is a huge change compared to where we were a couple of years ago when it was just dudes, basically. It's also a young skew. 50% of adult messages come from under 26s. Nice to know that I'm not young by quite a margin. And then global spread, the fastest growth has been in low and middle income countries. That's not that surprising, because we had early growth in the higher income countries. So they were already at a relatively high level. And now the lower and middle income countries are picking it up as well, which is fantastic, because it has the potential to really democratize wealth. We could go two very different directions with AI. It could be a way for the rich to concentrate their wealth even more, and that's currently the path we're taking, with about 5 to 10 billionaires running the whole show. Or if we make sure that everybody on Earth is educated about how to use this and how we can use it to build businesses and make money, which is my mission, this is what I'm trying to help people do, then we could use it to democratize and spread wealth instead of concentrating it. It could go two very different ways, though, unfortunately. And then education, more educated, high-paid professionals use ChatGPT for work, and they use it more for asking, which is decision support rather than just doing. Cool. So it's go and have a look at the paper. Again, it's called How People Use ChatGPT. I'm sure if you Google it, it will pop up, or you can ask ChatGPT, because that's what we do nowadays, apparently. But I think there's a couple of interesting trends there. The fact that it is not just white men, and it used to just be white dudes who are using this, and now it is much more evenly gender balanced, in fact, with a female skew, and it's also in mid and lower income countries as well. So we are seeing a much larger group of humanity using AI, which is, for me, I find very exciting. Okay, I'm going to hop over to the questions. Hey Joy, how are you doing? I don't see the other half of your question, Shakes, but if you send it in, I'm happy to answer. There we go. I'm building this project, but ChatGPT can't handle my prompt. How can I work around it? So what you're actually building it in, because ChatGPT can help you with the code, but you need to deploy that code yourself. Are you like running that on a local host? If you don't have much experience with coding, or this is a first project, I'd recommend using a vibe coding tool. So there's Lovable, there's Bolt, there's Replete, there's Base 44, or if you're a bit more technical, you could use Cursor's really good. But if you are just building something and it's the first time you build it, you can do it in ChatGPT, you can get the code, but you still need to work out what to do with that code, if that makes sense, how to compile it and how to build it into a piece of software. If you use a vibe coding tool, it's going to do all of that heavy lifting for you. It'll help you set up the database, etc., etc. So it's an easier way to get into it. And most of them have free plans as well, if that's a concern. Otherwise, if you are just trying to get some code, I would say use Claude. Claude is a lot better for coding. That may not be the case now, because we just had the release of GPT-5 Codex. That only came out yesterday, so the jury's going to be out on that. But generally, Claude is considered to be a better model for coding. So I would try out Claude. And again, that has a free plan as well. So if ChatGPT can't handle the prompt, try the different model, see if Claude can do it. If so, fantastic. Otherwise, you can, if you're still having difficulties, it's probably going to be a matter of breaking it down even more. You said you've already got a PRD. You might need to have a discussion with a model like Claude saying, hey, I have this PRD. This is what I want to do. But these are the problems that I'm having when I try to have ChatGPT help me build it. What can I do to better improve my process? And so you can use the AI to help you work better with the AI, if that makes sense. It can help you to create a more broken down plan, break it in smaller steps, and then help you. That's going to, in turn, get better results when you feed it back into an AI later. So you have a separate chat for advisory and one for building, and you take stuff from the advisory chat into the building chat. Okay. We need to change the financial systems and political setups. Yeah, probably. It's a big job, but that's probably where we'll have to go. It's just going to take an awfully long time. And humans don't do anything unless we're in absolute crisis. Let's switch over to another cool thing from ChatGPT, a smaller thing than the new Codex model release, but they have updated their personalization page. So personality configuration, custom instructions, and memory are now all in one place, going live over the next couple of days. So it's live for me already. Let's have a look. So if you click your little profile photo in the bottom left, you can then go into personalizations, and you can enable customizations. You can have different ChatGPT personalities. So they've had this ever since the launch of GPT-5. No, sorry. They've had this ever since the 4.0 backlash. So GPT-5 came out, people hated it. They said, some people hated it. They said, give us 4.0 back. We love 4.0. And one of the things OpenAI did very quickly was add in personalities. So those are still available. So we have default, cynic, robot, listener, and nerd. We also have custom instructions. Now, interestingly, this custom instructions used to be a much longer text box, and now it's a single line. You can still make it longer, but that almost encourages you to give less custom instructions. I don't know if that's on purpose or just a UI, excuse me, or just a UI decision. And then about you, nickname, occupation, more about you, memory, etc. They've just pulled everything into one place, but it's a slightly nicer user interface. So if you are now looking for personalization options, if you're looking for how to manage your memory, etc., it's all going to be in one place in this personalization area. With this icon, I can't quite tell what the icon's meant to be. Is that a face? No idea. So it doesn't work as an icon. Let's talk about Google. So a couple of things happening with Google. Google has just yesterday, Alphabet, I should say. Alphabet are the holding company that generally just call it Google, but Alphabet is the actual company's name. So Google parent Alphabet reached a market capitalization of $3 trillion, which makes it the fourth company ever to reach $3 trillion market cap. The milestone comes 20 years after Google's market debut and 10 years after the creation of Alphabet, and they've added billions of dollars in value recently because of their favorable antitrust ruling. So this is to do with the Chrome browser. They were going to have to split off Chrome and sell it to somebody or give it to somebody, but they do not need to do that anymore, which is huge news for them, obviously. So Alphabet has joined the $3 trillion club. Shares of the search giant jumped more than 4% on Monday, pushing the company into territory occupied only by Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, and now Google. So the four largest companies on Earth. Nvidia is actually at 4 trillion, just an extra trillion more. And so Google ended the day with a market capitalization of 3.05 trillion by market close. So market capitalization, I think it's useful to understand what that actually is. Basically, it's the share price times the number of outstanding public shares. Let me confirm that so we can be precise about this. The value of the company that is traded on the stock market calculated by multiplying the total number of shares, publicly available shares, I imagine, by the present share price. So That's how we get the market capitalization figure, and it gives us an idea of the value of the company. This only applies to publicly traded companies, obviously, because we need to look at the share price. The stock got a big lift in early September from an antitrust ruling by a judge whose penalties came in lighter than shareholders feared. The US Department of Justice wanted Google to be forced to divest its Chrome browser, so they're going to have to lose it. They'd have to get rid of it. And last year, a district court ruled that the company held an illegal monopoly in search and related advertising. They do have a monopoly, honestly. Whether or not it's illegal, it depends on, it has to be defined whether or not it's a monopoly. But so far they're doing okay. So Judge Amit Mehta decided against the most severe consequences posed by the Department of Justice, which sent shares soaring to a record. After the big rally, President Donald Trump congratulated the company and called it a very good day. So the Department of Justice was going after Google, failed, and the president was like, good job, Google. Okay, sure. Alphabet shares are up more than 30% this year compared with a 15% gain for the NASDAQ. So, great news for Google. They are, if you have to ask who's going to push ahead and win in the AI race, Google are one of the top contenders. We talked about this yesterday in particular. They have cash. They have a lot of products. They have a large user base already using their products. And they also have really good AI researchers. They have DeepMind. They have good artificial intelligences. They have Gemini, which is a good solid model, and now they have Nano Banana, which last week pushed the download of the Gemini app to #1 in the App Store. So they're in a really good position to take this. They were lagging behind OpenAI, other models, but now Google are in a great position. At the same time, this is this morning, 4 hours ago, the world's fourth biggest company, Google, owned Alphabet, has announced a £5 billion investment in UK artificial intelligence. So we're about to see some real money being spent in the UK, because whenever it's a UK initiative from our government, they're like, oh, here's $1 million, here's a few £1,000,000. That is insufficient. The AI investment right now, it requires billions. It is no longer being fought in the millions at all. Hell, it's going to be in the trillions soon. And these companies reaching these kind of market capitalizations show us where it's going. So the money will be used for infrastructure and scientific research over the next 2 years. So $5 billion, 2 years. The first of several massive US investments being unveiled ahead of US President Donald Trump's state visit. Google's President and Chief Investment Officer Ruth Porat told BBC News in an exclusive interview that there were profound opportunities in the UK for its pioneering work in advanced science, and the company is going to officially open a $1 billion, so £735 million data system centre in Waltham Cross, Hertfordshire, with Chancellor Rachel Reeves on Tuesday. Oh, okay, Rachel Reeves is helping to open the centre. The ribbon cutting, presumably. Or flicking a switch. I don't know what you do at a data center. Do you cut a ribbon? Do you turn it on? I hope there's a big lever. That'd be a lot more exciting. The investment will expand this site and also include, here we go, funding for London-based DeepMind, run by British Nobel Prize winner Sir Demis Hassabis, who we were talking about yesterday, which deploys AI to revolutionize advanced scientific research. Cool. So the UK and DeepMind in particular were fundamental for some of the recent pushes in artificial intelligence. 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, were laying the foundation for all of this, but the UK has been, apart from DeepMind, relatively irrelevant during this latest generative AI craze. So it's nice to see DeepMind being rewarded for this. Of course, DeepMind are owned by Google, so its investment it's Google investing in one of their subsidiaries. They own DeepMind. So this isn't pure, this is not altruistic. It's investment. Ms. Porat said there is now a US-UK special technology relationship. There's downside risk that we need to work on together to mitigate, but there's also tremendous opportunity in economic growth in social services, advancing science. It's interesting that she mentions downside risk. Okay. She pointed to the government's AI Opportunities Action Plan as helping that investment, but said there's still work to be done to land that, and that capturing the upside of the AI boom was not a foregone conclusion. So this is, oh yeah, they mention it here. Okay, so at the moment, Google and the US are pushing for less taxes on their companies that are based over here. So the US administration had pressed the UK to water down its digital service tax on companies, including Google, in talks this year, but it is not expected to feature in this year's announcement. Okay, so Ruth Porat is saying, hey, yeah, we're going to invest some money here, but there are still some problems that we need to work out, i.e. you need to reduce our tax load. Okay. So we're best friends, we have a special relationship, but you're going to reduce our taxes and we're not going to pay the taxes that you want. Okay. So there's a carrot and a stick here. And then a final piece of Google news, because we're all in the name of balance. So yes, Google has become a $3 trillion company. They're doing really well. Yes, they're putting some money into the UK. It comes with strings attached, i.e. you better not be taxing us, or we're not going to be giving you any more investment in the future. So I also wanted to cover a bit of negative news, but also something that I think should not be a surprise. So hundreds of Google AI workers have just been fired, or they were fired in August actually, were fired amidst a fight over working conditions. So 200 contractors who work on improving Google's AI products, including Gemini and AI overviews, have been laid off. It's the latest development in a conflict over pay and alleged poor working conditions. So more than 200 contractors who worked on evaluating and improving Google's AI products have been laid off without warning in at least 2 rounds of layoffs last month. The move comes amidst an ongoing fight over pay and working conditions, according to workers who spoke to Wired. So these are not unionized workers, and they were pushing for increases in pay and working conditions, and Google's just said no and fired them, 200 of them. So what's interesting about this is the particular work that it was. So they were hiring experts. They were hiring PhD level experts to help improve the results from AI overviews and improve the results from Gemini. So they've outsourced its AI rating work, which includes evaluating, editing, and rewriting Gemini chatbot responses to make it sound more human and intelligent, to thousands of contractors employed by Hitachi-owned Global Logic and other outsourcing companies. So this is very normal. AI companies have a stage in their training called RLHF, Reinforcement Learning from Human Feedback, where you basically, before releasing, you have humans, experts in certain areas, ask questions, and they're given kind of transcripts, and they have to edit them for accuracy and tone, and basically helping to align the model using human feedback to certain specific areas. So they'll get accountants, they'll get biomedicine experts, they'll get geneticists, like high-level experts who can actually check the work of the models, and then that's fed back into as one of the final layers of training to fine-tune and make sure that it's ready for launch. So this has been going on for years. It was OpenAI who really pushed this, actually, reinforcement learning from human feedback. And a group of 200 of them just got fired, basically. So these workers, who are often hired because of their specialist knowledge, had to have either a master's or a PhD to join the Super Rater program, and typically includes writers, teachers, and people from creative fields. So high-level workers. I was just cut off, said Andrew Lauzon, who received an email with the news of his termination on August 15th. I asked for a reason. They said ramp down on the project, whatever that means. He joined Global Logic in March 2024, where his work ranged from rating AI outputs to coming up with a variety of prompts to feed into the model. So here's the thing. You know what's going to happen. It sucks that they lost a job, okay? But you are training the AI to do your job. This is literally like being forced to dig your own grave and then lie down in it while Google fills in the soil above you. They're asking you as a PhD, as an expert in your particular level, to help train their AI by giving it feedback. As soon as the AI gets good enough, you are no longer needed. So this should not be a surprise that these jobs came to an end. They were probably going to be wound down anyway, because I imagine these ones were for training specifically Gemini 2.5, which we got relatively recently, or maybe for Gemini 3, which we should be getting soon. There are rumblings of it in the next month or so. So when you go through a training cycle of creating a new model, the reinforcement learning from human feedback is one of the last things that happens. And then once you have released the model, you don't necessarily need those workers. So you will need different people, or you'll rehire them when you do the next cycle of training. But it's always going to be a job that is for a particular launch. And once it's launched, you are no longer needed. So that's the cycle of the work. But you are on a wider scale training these models in your expertise. And that's why they're tapping into you as a PhD, as a master level student, to be able to train the AI to do your job and to have the same level of knowledge as you. So it's not that surprising. Still sucks for these people, and it looks like they've been laid off in an unpleasant manner, just no notice. They were also pushing back and trying to get more pay and better working conditions, so there may be a fight for them to say they've been unfairly dismissed. That's a legal issue, and I'm sure that will go through the courts. But overall, they should not be that surprised that there are no jobs, that this is not a permanent full-time job for them, because one, the training cycles mean it's going to be rotational. You'll be needed for a certain amount of time, then you're not needed again. And two, as we go through more and more of these cycles, the AIs are going to have more and more knowledge, and we won't necessarily even need human beings to check the work. As we move forward, we can start to use AIs to check the work. So sad, but not overly surprising. Yep, that was a couple of bits of Google news. Fourth ever company to hit $3 trillion. Congratulations. An investment of $1 billion in the UK into DeepMind. Oh no, sorry, not $5 billion into the UK, $1 billion into a data center and various other infrastructure projects, and also into DeepMind, which is owned by Google, and a story about Google AI workers who are being fired, and seem surprised about that, but might have an unfair dismissal case because of the fact that they were actively asking for better pay and working conditions. So Google is busy. As I said, this has been a busy day. New GPT-5 version, so GPT-5 Codex is released. We have new personalization settings within ChatGPT. We have a new research paper, how people use ChatGPT. We have the news of Google hitting $3 trillion and various investments, etc., etc. So it has been a busy day. Looks like we're back on with the news. We have not seen a launch of a new Anthropic model, despite the rumors, but maybe we're going to see something later this week. What I really want to see is the new Gemini. Actually, Gemini 3 would be really cool. And this would be a great time for them to be pushing, if it's anywhere near, because they already have a lot of public attention right now. Google and Google Gemini are in a position to actually challenge ChatGPT, which cannot be said often. I'm going to see if there's any questions. And I'm building in public in AI application, and it will be day 12 today. And the idea is to build from a blank slate. So I had an idea a couple of weeks ago, building it into something that I can sell by the end of 30 days, working on it for 1 hour per day. Today is day 12, so hour 12 of development, and we're getting there. It's looking pretty good. So we should be able to push for beta testing this weekend, and then launching, hopefully making some money next week. So I'm going to be live streaming that immediately after this news live stream. Just check if there's any questions, and I'm not seeing any. That's fine. Oh, hey, Nat. Yep, I'm still human. I wouldn't look for a job in a company anymore. It's a waste, either due to their lack of AI. I don't see the rest of it. So I think, the job market is rough. The job market is rough at the moment for everybody. I think there's an economic downturn anyway. It's not a good time economically, but there's also AI, which is an upward pressure, which is hurting entry-level jobs in particular. And we're starting to see evidence that is the case, and it's not just an economic recession, but AI is actually actively reducing the number of jobs that are being created and the number of positions that are being filled. Yeah, it is messy. Oh, there was actually, I'll cover it tomorrow. There was, let me pull it up, Gen Z, I might not be able to find it. I'll find it, but there's an article from a bunch of teachers, and they're talking about the attitudes of their students and how the students know that there won't be jobs when they leave school, and they are fairly resigned to that, and they were using humor. I'll pull up the article and do it tomorrow. They're using humor to deflect that, but underlying that is the fact that they realize that, This is going to be rough. They're about to enter a job market that's in a couple of years' time going to be an absolute mess. I will cover that tomorrow as a fun new topic. So I'm going to hop over to where I'm building in public. Yes, Nat, I am really working on a project. I am a human. I am not actually an AI hallucinating that I'm working on a project. In fact, you can go and have a look at the project. I will continue to try to prove I'm human. You can find all of the videos of the daily news update and the Build in Public live streams over on YouTube. There is a YouTube playlist now, so I just saw somebody asking about it. If there's a YouTube playlist for the Build in Public, that should be on the YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube search I am Kyle Balmer on YouTube and you'll find my profile, and then you can find the playlist and you should be able to find the whole Build in Public playlist there. All of the videos from my daily lives go onto the YouTube as well as cut up edited version, so it's a bit tidier, easier for you to find the information you're looking for. And there's a daily newsletter which comes out every day at 8 a.m, which has a written summary of what's been covered. It's just, again, an easier way to access the information and keep up to date with what's happening in the world of artificial intelligence. So make sure you are subscribed to that. That's free. Everything is free. It's just my way of trying to keep us all up to date because there is a lot going on. So do check that out. Link in the bio to get the newsletter, and on YouTube, just search my username, I am Kyle Balmer, and you'll be able to find me. All of these live streams that I'm doing as well, if you're watching me on TikTok, they're all on YouTube, and it's a much better way to see it because you can see my screen and you can see it's in 4K, etc., etc. So I highly recommend checking it out. Thank you guys. Close this one down.